Quincy MD won't be seen tonight, so we can bring you a very special episode of The Gen X Files. Welcome to The Gen X Files. I'm Jim.
I'm Adam.
And today's show is all about trading places.
So I'm going to be Jim, and Jim's going to be Adam. Ready?
Yeah. All right, here we go. February 20th. Take yourself back.
Perfect. Trading Places, fantastic movie. Second movie that Eddie Murphy did.
Yeah.
Made way more money than 48 Hours. It's a good movie. It's fun.
It's a great movie. It was an easier sell than 48 Hours.
Yeah.
You know, because it was just pretty much it was basically a Preston Sturges type upper crust comedy with some boobies and some swear words.
A lot of people doing the boobies in this movie. All right, take yourself back to 1983.
Ooh.
February 28th, the final episode of Ameche airs, setting the record for most watched television episode and reaching a total audience estimated at 125 million people, which still to this day remains unsurpassed.
Ugh, it was so bad. It was like by that
Just the
time.
finale.
Oh my god. Yeah, I mean, MASH was amazing for the first 3 years.
Yeah.
But then it
And
just
it
slowly
ran for
became
11.
more and more of a soapbox for Alan Alda's. Anyway, but the last episode was awful. And the only thing I really I remember, like, there was some thing where he was holding a chicken, but it wasn't really a chicken. It was a baby, and they killed the baby, and that's why he had lost his mind. Because I think the last few episodes, Hawkeye had, kind of lost his mind.
I don't know.
Nobody gave a crap. But the only thing I remember is it was either he or BJ. I don't remember which one. I think it was Hawkeye. Gets on a motorcycle to, like, drive away. And it must have been the actor, because I've never seen a more awkward, squirrely motorcycle, like, embarrassing.
Taking off, like spinning out. And...
It was like the equivalent of him, like, rushing out of a store in a huff.
No, God.
But on a motorcycle. Anyway, awful
ending.
and to a really good, groundbreaking show.
Well, it is the most watched episode of TV ever, so...
A lot of disappointed people that night.
March 1st, the first collection of 12 Swatch models were introduced in Zurich, Switzerland.
Holy crap, baby.
Yeah.
I had not thought about Swatch watches
Swatch.
quite a while, but good Lord, did I have some swatches.
Did you?
Mm-hmm. Oh, yeah. I had a really cool black one with, like, a gray face, and then I had, you had a couple. You had a couple of swatches for different times, baby.
Well, they match your outfits.
Yeah. You had to, with your shoulder pads and your bright pastel colors. Man, I had some cool clothes with some zippers. You don't even know. You wouldn't even think a zipper could go there, baby. It was zippers on zippers. I had a zipper that opened up a zipper. It was like it was like this portal into another universe.
They've gone too far.
It was
gone too far.
It was too much.
March 9th, the 3D printer is invented by Chuck Hull. And then the reason I put this in is because I didn't realize the 3D printers were so old.
No, and you would think by now you could. Well, I mean, you can. I mean, look, I don't know a ton about 3D printing.
Yeah.
I know that it's lucrative, and if you have a 3D printer, it's pretty much passive income. You can 3D print houses. You can 3D print guns. There's a whole ghost gun thing that's going on with 3D printed guns. You can 3D print prosthetic hands.
Yeah. There's a variety of applications. It's incredible.
Cool. I would love to get one. I want to get one because you get the specs offline.
Yeah.
And then you just like input them into your 3D printer and it just makes stuff. What I want, and this is kind of like this is where my head's at. I want the food 3D printer that's
the Star Trek Next Generation.
Yeah, the replica is like beep boop boop, make me a pizza, beep boop boop, club sandwich with extra cheese, beep boop boop,
that'd be
well done
fantastic.
fries. Cook. I think it can be done. Here's my thing. Here's why I think it can be done. This is my invention for it because I've thought about this a lot, Adam. I love food and I'm a lazy man.
This is the genius of your laziness.
The thing is, you need a tank, right?
Yeah.
That holds every molecule.
Just goo.
No, just every building block molecule.
Right, but it'd just be goo.
Well, it would be swirling in different. You would have to keep
swirling goo.
Well, you would have to keep the different building blocks separate, right?
Oh my God, this already sounds too complicated.
No, you have separate building blocks of things that make things like cellular things, protons, neutrons, electrons.
I just want to add in that we are not scientists.
The building blocks of life, and then you like a recipe of making cookies or brownies. You put the building blocks together to make whatever you want to make. It's super easy. I can't believe they haven't done it yet.
That's literally what cooking is.
It's right, but I'm talking about on a molecular level.
You just want to push a button and have it make a thing.
Yeah. Like, and it would also make the plate and everything because it would have all those building blocks.
I would
too.
make a plate. Wow.
And then you know what recycling is? Just put the plate back in, and it breaks it down into its building blocks and puts it back into the little tubes.
I think given the current state of our country and our world, that no one would ever accept molecule 3D food printing.
Oh, I would. And I'll tell you, as soon as somebody hears this, Christmas 2024,
No.
it's coming.
No.
They're stealing my idea. And it's going to be the exact same building block tubes.
Maybe in Japan, and maybe it'll be like $1 billion.
Created.
It'll be, yeah.
Well, they better give me the first one because I
Jeff
came up with the idea.
Bezos is going to have it on his rocket ship to Mars.
Rocket Man.
Wednesday, June 8th, 1983, Trading Places is released in theaters. Yet another movie, 48 Hours was released on a Wednesday, too.
Yeah.
I literally, growing up, was like Fridays, but for some reason, Wednesdays.
No, Wednesday for big movies because they wanted to get a jump on the box office. I don't remember which. I think it was one of the Indiana Joneses, possibly.
Oh, yeah.
Or maybe it was a Star Wars.
Probably.
But they released it on a Wednesday to jack up the box office opening, whatever. So that became kind of especially mostly in the summer, though. It wasn't so much a winter thing.
Although 48 Hours was. It was released.
No. But I'm saying,
I'm saying mostly it was the summer. Yeah.
And I think it also started when big releases were coming out on Thanksgiving. And so, like, Wednesday night, they do, like, ooh.
Yeah. I know certain
yeah.
holidays they definitely would. Yeah. And because they would do that for Christmas, too. If Christmas was, like, later in the week or whatever, they would do it. And then I think it just became tradition.
And summer, all the kids were out of school, so Wednesday, it didn't matter if it was Wednesday or Friday,
if
whatever.
If it was one movie being released on a Wednesday, you're more likely to get everybody to go see it. So, I mean, it makes sense. It just surprises me that I keep seeing all these Wednesday releases.
All right. Well, calm down.
I know. I'm trying. The film earned $1.7 million in its opening day, leading into its opening weekend, which it earned a total of $7.3 million, which was third for the weekend behind Octopussy, which made almost $9 million.
Octopussy.
Yes. Which also made its debut that weekend, and Return of the Jedi, which made $12 million that weekend, but was in his third week of release.
Yeah, I mean, that was a juggernaut. Octopussy, which it was Roger Moore, so I don't know why I'm doing Sean Connery. That movie was pretty bad.
It never claimed number one at the box office, but it did spend 17 straight weeks in the top 10.
Those movies like that or Stripes. These R-rated comedies that came out, Animal House, they came out around these times, 70s, early 80s. They were really profitable. Porky's.
Yeah. Oh, yeah.
Because they could steadily make money without having to, like, crack the top three. Yeah. They just were good performers because horny little teenage boys. That's kind of the only place you can see.
You go back. Got to see more of the boobies. Yeah. It's amazing how much film was determined by boobies.
Yeah, there was a lot more back then.
There was.
Maybe not. You know what's great now is there's like a penis renaissance. Like there's a ton of wiener in movies and TV. Yeah, like Euphoria, there's a lot of wiener.
Oh, yeah. Well, there's a lot of boobs
everybody
in
showing their wiener
too,
in movies. And I just think it's good. I mean, there was a lot of 70s, 80s, a lot of boobies, a lot of naked ladies, but let's give them give them people what they want.
Give
Let's
them
some
the
wieners.
due. Yeah, give them the wieners.
I say pull them wieners out. Well, and only when you're asked to on set.
Yes, don't
do it.
Don't do it.
Keep the wiener in the pants.
As long as everybody's okay with it.
Yeah, when they're asking you to. I don't know. This is going in a weird place.
Yeah, it is. All right, so where did Trading Places come from? In the early 1980s, writer Timothy Harris often played tennis against two wealthy but frugal brothers who regularly engaged in competitive rivalry and betting. Following one session, Harris returned home exasperated with the pair's conflict and concluded that they were, quote-unquote, awful people.
Yeah.
Of course they were.
A couple of... He's probably just like, I know these guys. I like playing tennis. They get me into the club.
Yeah.
But, after a while, just listening to these two guys bitch and moan, it's just not worth it.
First world problems.
Yeah.
I'm a struggling writer, damn it. Yeah. The situation gave him the idea of two brothers betting over nature versus nurture in terms of human ability. Harris shared the idea with his writing partner, Herschel Weingrod, who liked the concept. Thank you. I was waiting for this.
Herschel Weingrod. They should have made Winthrop and Weingrod. They should have, I wonder if that guy went to an Ivy League school.
Sure. I'm going to say yes. Harris also drew inspiration for the story from his own living situation. He lived in a rundown area near Fairfax Avenue in Los Angeles. He described the area in grim terms as crime-ridden, where everyone either had a gun pointed at them or had been raped.
everybody's like, "Ooh, the good old times," and it was all salty. But it's like, salty's one thing. Getting robbed all the time is another.
Yeah. Previously, Harrison Weingrod had written a feature that was produced called Cheaper to Keeper, starring Mac Davis, a crossover country music star.
I saw that movie.
The film was widely panned. According to Gene Siskel,
the comedy is lame, the sex is childish, and the only reason the film has an R rating is because of a single swear word. Cheaper to Keeper is cheaply made, sloppily photographed comedy that isn't even on par with the few made-for-TV movies I've seen. It should disappear from town in a week. By the way, the few TV movies that I've seen, Gene Siskel's such a turd ball.
oh, God, I do
Rest
not
in
like
peace.
Gene Siskel at all. He was such a mamby-pamby. Okay.
Rest in peace.
Yeah. Harrison Weingrod researched the commodities market for the script, trying to figure out the incredibly complicated plotline. They learned of financial market incidents, including Russian attempts to corner the wheat market and the Hunt brothers' effort to corner the silver market on what became known as Silver Thursday.
Silver Thursday.
Which essentially, they tried as hard as they could to corner the silver market,
Yeah.
and within one day, they lost over $1.9 billion.
Good Lord. And that's like 50-year ago $billion.
Yeah, it was a long time ago, and it was sad. But even to the point where the day before they tried to do the final takeover, Diamond producers did a whole full-page ad in the New York Times saying, no one should have a right to have monopolize a market, which I thought was really ironic considering that the diamond market is run essentially by two companies. And they thought trading orange juice and pork bellies would be funnier because the public would be unaware such mundane items were traded.
Like you would have in a bacon, lettuce, and tomato sandwich.
Yeah. Yeah, just the look is so fantastic.
It's also an easier way to explain stuff to people.
It is, 'cause
in
it's-
terms of food. Just like I said with the replicator.
Right. Yeah.
You know what America loves, Adam?
Food?
Yeah. One of my best friends in college went on to become a trader.
Yeah.
Traitor!
Yeah.
No, a trader. And I would visit him in New York, and I'd go on the floor of the World Trade Center, and I was there, and I swear to God, man, I did not understand any of it. It was just chaos, man. Everybody screaming at each other. I knew the signals for 1, 2, 3, like how many things you want.
Yeah.
And it was just so stressful. And then you go drinking with these guys, and they're all like it's like a fraternity.
Yeah.
And everybody's got some hierarchy, and and the big guy's like, well, you got to drink, and if you don't drink, I don't know what happens. You get, I don't know, kneecapped or something. I don't know. It's just like the stupid. It was just so dumb to me. Like, all these guys are super rich, and they have the greatest cocaine.
Yeah.
But the greatest cocaine. No, I'm just kidding. There were bullies. It was just this,
it was
you had to
very
eat crap
cutthroat.
until it was very high schooly, very like a fraternity, very hazing. And I was sitting there, and they're all, and it's like 11 o'clock in the morning, and we're all just down in Bushmills. And I'm still hungover from the night before, and I'm like, I'm getting something to eat. They're like, my friend's like, no, you can't, until he orders, you can't get anything. I'm like, I don't work for this mother effer. Give me some nachos. And I guess that was a faux pas. But who cares? I don't work for him.
Yeah.
But it was just like, it was weird.
Harris consulted with people in the commodities business to understand how the film's finale on the trading floor would work. The pair determined that the commodities market would make for an interesting setting for a film as long as it was not actually about the financial market itself.
Yeah.
Because it's super confusing, as Jim just pointed out, and it makes no sense whatsoever.
Well, yeah, it's like...
I mean, it does. It can be dumbed down a little bit.
Well, The Big Short did a really good job of explaining it by putting Margot Robbie.
Margot Robbie, yeah.
But the movie wasn't about...
No.
The machinations of the scheme.
No. The pair knew that the method of Winthorpe's and Valentine's financial victory could be confusing, but hoped the audiences would be too invested in the character's success to care about the details.
It all sounded fine. I remember going
even watching it again, I'm just like, it doesn't really matter. All I know is that they're winning, and that's it.
You know that they need to get the briefcase from the jerk, and the briefcase holds the key.
Yeah.
And that's the key to them winning.
They were trying to cheat, and then they essentially turned it on them and made it look like they weren't cheating.
But as long as they had the visual cue of the briefcase, everybody could follow along, because it's like, oh, there's the answers. They have the answers now. Now they're going to win.
Right, exactly. The script was sold to Paramount Pictures under the title Black and White.
Horrible.
Despite
Horrible
the
title.
fact that they had a really awful first movie.
What an absolutely on-the-nose title, by the way.
Well, yeah.
Unless it was Black v. White.
Then Paramount executive Jeffrey Katzenberg offered the project to director John Landis.
Stroke of genius.
Yes. Landis disliked the working title, much like everyone else.
Yeah.
But favorably compared the script to older screwball comedies of the 1930s by directors like Frank Capra, Leo McCarey, and Preston Sturges.
Yeah, I was going to say, this is exactly that type of society film.
Yeah.
Society comedies, which were basically, making fun of the rich. All the way back to, like, the Three Stooges.
Yeah,
when, strangely enough, the rich dowager would have to have plumbing on the upstairs commode during the most important party of the year. And then she gets the Three Stooges to do it, which I'm sure they have horrible references. There's
they were never successful at anything.
No, there's no way that any of their past customers are like, oh yeah, hire the Stooges. If you like watching guys get hit in the face with wrenches and then they'll ride a bathtub down your staircase, well, those are the guys for you. Ooh, my.
Landis wanted his film to reflect these concepts in the 1980s. He said the main updates were the addition of swearing and nudity. Landis admitted that it took him a while to understand how Trading Places' finale worked. Which really, it came down to just, you need a sight gag, and that really was all it was.
But it had to work.
No, it did, yeah.
And the way it worked was, even if you didn't know what was happening, you got the tension from what was going on.
Yes.
Sell, it's like, holy crap, there's a lot of shit going on. And also, you can, just by the look on the faces of, oh my God, ruined.
Oh my God, it's happening. What's going on? Yeah. Trading Places was developed with the intent to cast comedy duo Richard Pryor and Gene Wilder as Billy Ray Valentine and Louis Winthrop III, respectively.
Well, they were comedy gold at the time. They had Stir Crazy, and they had...
Stir Crazy was huge.
But also Silver Streak. Yeah. Oh, my God, one of my favorite movies ever.
Yeah.
Oh,
so
man,
good.
I love train movies, old train movies where mysteries happen on a train.
Yeah, oh yeah.
And then people get thrown off the train, they got to get back on the train. Like, I love that stuff, man. Oh, I love those two guys, too, by the way. One of the best comedy teams ever.
Oh, yeah.
Such an odd pairing, too, if you think about it. But such a perfect pairing.
They're so good. When Pryor was severely injured after setting fire to himself while freebasing cocaine, the decision was made to cast someone else.
Okay, first of all, he didn't. He put lighter fluid all over his body and lit himself on fire to try to commit suicide.
Oh.
Freebasing cocaine, everybody was like, oh, freebasing cocaine. It's like you have to use ether and blah, blah, blah. It's just smoking cocaine, man. Yeah. It's just like crack. You smoke cocaine in a pipe. You cannot burst into flames freebasing cocaine. It's never happened.
He lit his hair on fire back.
He admitted in his stand-up
that he tried to set himself
on fire. That it was a suicide attempt. He went running down the street on fire.
Paramount Pictures suggested Eddie Murphy, despite the fact that the studio was initially unhappy with Murphy's performance in his first film, the as then unreleased action comedy 48 Hours. Please reference our last episode, which was also conceived as a Pryor project.
Yeah, well, he was taking all of Pryor's roles.
Yeah.
But he was like, he was the young Richard Pryor, which is such a disservice to both of them because they couldn't be any more different as performers.
Oh, no, totally.
But it's like you got to put them in a box. But
right.
Yeah, I also think, and this is a lot of my speculation, but also reading into a lot of the things that we've been looking into on these films, is I don't believe that they were disappointed in his performance, more so that they were disappointed in the fact that he wasn't a get along, go along Charlie, which is he stood up for himself.
Yeah.
He wasn't a pain in the butt.
Right.
But he would not let anybody, just like, when the guy was, when Michael O'Donoghue, right, was screaming at him.
Yeah.
During SNL, and he wouldn't back down. I think that scared them. And then they were hoping for him to fail, and so they wouldn't have to deal with him. But then, it's like, well, here he is, and he's a huge commodity. There was a lot of control back then, and I think, you got to read between the lines.
When 48 Hours was well received by preview test audiences, the studio reversed its opinion publicly and was like, "Yeah, we want to work with Murphy. It's going to be great. He's going to make us money." Landis was unaware of Murphy, who had been gaining fame as a performer on SNL. After watching Murphy's audition tapes, John Landis was impressed enough to travel to New York City to meet with him. Murphy said that he was paid $350,000 for the role. It was reported that the figure was as high as $1 million. Yeah. Which was a huge step up from the fact that I think for 48 Hours, he made, it was like 150 maybe, if that.
Yeah, no,
Like,
his
it wasn't
quote
very
kept
much.
going up.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But given the fact that the movie wasn't even out yet, like it's pretty impressive on his part.
On his agent's part.
Well, yes. Landis wanted Dan Aykroyd to serve as Murphy's co-star. He had worked previously with Aykroyd on the musical comedy film The Blues Brothers. Landis had really appreciated working with Aykroyd. They got along really well. Landis said,
He could easily play Winthrop. You just give him what you want and he delivers. And I thought he'd be wonderful. Well, you know what I found? Recently, Dan Aykroyd has been saying in interviews that he's on the spectrum, that he's found out that he is on the spectrum.
Yeah.
And it totally makes sense that he is so I mean, he's that guy that's like laser focused. Tell me what you want. You watch his performance. Like I've said a lot of times that like Tom Cruise is all technique.
Yeah.
There's no humanity to his acting. He's very good at running, and he's
look at his eyes.
Very good at pretending to be a human being. But I don't see it as acting. I see it as pure technique. It's almost like somebody is like, do this. You know what I mean?
And then
But Aykroyd is that really rare performer that is the perfect mix of technique and talent, where he can laser focus, do everything the exact same way, but it's still funny. And it still comes, you know what I mean? It's like he's got this gift. It's like he's a great physical comedian. You watch his dancing on the Blues Brothers. You watch his physical comedy.
Yeah.
Amazing.
Yeah.
But he's also a great verbal comedian, which is just so rare. I think this guy is very underrated.
Super talented. I agree. 100% agree. Paramount Pictures was less enamored with Aykroyd. Executives believe that he performed better as part of a duo, as he had been working with John Belushi a lot.
Right. Strangely enough, that this movie has nothing to do with a duo. Good Lord.
Well, I mean, technically, part of it, yes. Like, he's with Murphy through some of it, but most of Aykroyd's scenes are with Jamie Lee Curtis. And
at the beginning, the first act, the first half of the second.
I mean, that's how you get to believe that his character's not a complete total
No, I
ass,
know. All their like, it's just
I know. It's studios.
Rankles me, man.
Studios, man.
They don't understand the machinations of making movies. They don't understand chemistry. They don't understand any of this stuff. It's just all they see is numbers.
Well, part of the problem is that Aykroyd's recent films had fared poorly at the box office. So he had Neighbors and Dr. Detroit did not do well.
Neighbors was one of Belushi's last. I think Belushi's last film was The Great Divide, which was kind of a good movie. It was a grown-up movie for him, where he plays this reporter who goes to find this, woman who's been living with the bears or whatever.
Right.
It's like fish out of water. Yeah. But before that, he did this weird movie, Neighbors, which was he and Aykroyd given too much leeway and just made this bizarre movie. I don't know if you've ever seen it. It's weird. It's kind of uncomfortable. It's weird. Not. Their characters are weird. It's like Belushi plays kind of the straight-laced, guy that works for a corporation, and
weird.
And Dan Aykroyd and his wife are these crazy crazies who move next door, and they might be aliens, I think. But Dr. Detroit is awesome.
Okay, all right. I don't think I've ever seen it.
Oh my God, Dr. Detroit. Okay, Aykroyd plays this guy who I don't know what he's some sort of nerd or nebbish, and somehow he gets involved with these prostitutes. And he it's much
as you do.
It was like ripping off the that Ron Howard movie.
Night
it was
Shift,
ripping off Night Shift a little bit. But so he takes on this persona called Dr. Detroit, where he's got he's like a professor. He's a professor, like a English professor. So he puts together this costume that's just so stupid. Like his hair's crazy. And he's got this voice, and he's like, I'm Dr. Detroit. It's great, dude. It's so funny. But anyway, I love that movie. And but nobody else did. It was just me.
Yeah. I've seen the poster. I don't think I've ever seen the movie. But because of those two movies, Aykroyd agreed to take a pay cut for the role to be in Trading Places.
Oh, yeah.
Like, he really wanted to do the movie, so he took a pay cut.
He met his wife on Dr. Detroit.
Oh, really?
Who, I forget her name. She was the female lead on Bosom Buddies.
Oh.
The blonde. And she was the female lead in Dr. Detroit. And it was such a bizarre couple because she's gorgeous.
Yeah.
But they've been together for like
since
40 years.
Yeah,
it's crazy. But that's where they met. And good for him and good for her.
Yeah, good for them. The studio also objected to the casting of Jamie Lee Curtis.
Jeez, man.
Studio just hated everything about this movie. It's really funny. At the time, she was seen as a quote-unquote scream queen, primarily associated with low-quality B movies. Curtis hosted the documentary Coming Soon that John Landis had directed, which was about horror movies.
Great documentary, by the way. I think I saw that in the theater.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
She wanted to move away from horror films as she was conscious that the association would limit her future career prospects. She'd actually turned down a role in the horror film Psycho 2, which came out in 1983, because of this, and obviously because her mother had starred in Psycho in 1960.
Well, that's why I wanted her.
Yeah.
For that sort of, connection.
But she didn't want to do it, although she did perform in Halloween 2 as a favor to John Carpenter and Deborah Hill.
Sure.
And was paid $1 million for that role.
Well, yeah, I mean...
might have been part of it.
You could... Yeah, I mean, she had the upper hand on that one. It was like, okay,
Yeah,
I'll do it,
yeah.
but...
You got to give them the monies.
Like, she needed it. I mean, she had movie star parents.
Oh, I know.
Janet Leigh and Tony Curtis.
Well, she was only paid $70,000 for Trading Places.
Yeah.
Took a pay cut for it. Well, pay cut. I mean, whatever.
Okay. She could afford it. I don't feel bad, but it was a smart move. Look, you have to do that sometimes. You got to prove yourself to move on.
Yeah.
And
she did great work in it. I mean, she's fantastic in the movie.
It was a gamble that 100% paid off because her career took off after that.
And as they say in Scream, she had to go legit to show her movies. She didn't do it during the horror movies. She did it in the so-called highfalutin movie.
That was shocking.
For her to suddenly be naked?
Yeah,
it was so just unnassuming. She's like, all right, now I'm just changing. Bye.
Yeah, it was just really like,
it was not
as a kid, too, you're just like, what?
It's just very, when asked if she had researched her role as a prostitute...
I'd love to say I went out and turned a couple of tricks on 42nd Street. But I didn't.
Nice. Curtis had long hair when she was cast. Costume designer Deborah Nadoolman Landis, which at the time she was not. They got married eventually, but they were not married at the time.
Okay.
She suggested cutting her hair shorter for the film.
What a great... And that's how she's had her hair ever since.
And the moment... I had totally forgotten that she had short hair, and she took the wig off, and I was like, oh my God.
Yeah.
It surprised me.
It looks great, and she pretty much rocked that cut. And her mom used to have short hair, too.
Oh, yeah. She was gorgeous. Yeah. I mean, absolutely gorgeous. For the Greedy Duke brothers, Ralph Bellamy was the first choice for Randolph. Bellamy had appeared in almost 75 films between 1931 and 1945, most famously in Howard Hawks' His Girl Friday, The Wolfman with Lon Chaney Jr. and Claude Rains, and the Ellery Queen series of films as Ellery Queen.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah. In the 60s, he started working in TV and appeared in Rosemary's Baby and Oh God with George Burns and John Denver.
Oh, man, I forgot about George Burns.
I forgot about Oh God, those series of movies.
I'm God. Hey, I'm God here. Oh,
so weird. Their movies are so weird.
George Burns was a tiny little gnome that was always 100 years old.
I was going to say, he looked 100 years old from the very beginning.
That sounds a little bit like Columbo.
For Mortimer, Landis wanted to cast an actor famous in the 1930s or the 40s who was not associated with playing a villain. His first choice was Ray Milland, but the actor was unable to pass a physical test to qualify for insurance while filming.
Yeah, Ray was pretty old. He was
old and gotten very chunky.
Because he was in, if you listen to our Columbo shows and stuff, he was doing a lot of TV at that point.
Yeah. But Ray Milland had a great career. I mean, he directed a bunch of movies in the 50s. Like, he was fantastic.
But unfortunately, Hollywood just put those guys out to pasture. All these guys that were huge stars, they were just dumped and then ended up showing up in all the disaster movies.
Yeah, disaster movies and TV. I mean, it was
like the Love Boat or disaster movies. There's Fred Astaire, the greatest dancer and biggest box office draw in 1938. But here he is playing third fiddle in the
riding a table down the earthquake. As the start date for filming loomed, Landis thought of Don Ameche. The casting director claimed that Don Ameche was dead.
Don Ameche. I love that name. I love that name. Don Ameche. Nothing... It's it just flows off your lips like butter. Don Ameche.
Landis was skeptical of Don Ameche being dead and contacted the Screen Actors Guild in an attempt to locate him. They confirmed that Ameche had no agent and his royalty payments were being forwarded to his son in Arizona, forcing Landis to accept the evidence that Ameche was dead. However, after hearing of Landis' search, one of the Paramount Studios secretaries mentioned that they saw Ameche regularly on San Vicente Boulevard in Santa Monica, California.
Turning tricks.
He was not dead.
He was S and the D for heroin money.
Wow. Really? Okay.
Sorting the donuts.
Talk about Don Ameche that way.
He was sorting the
donuts.
The donut shop.
Right.
What did you think?
Landis called directory assistants to locate a D. Ameche in the area and made contact. Ameche had not featured in a film for over a decade. When asked why, he said that
No one ever offered.
Yeah, sorry. He said
No one ever offered me work.
he just literally was like, but he also didn't have an agent, which is famously Bill Murray doesn't have an agent.
Right.
But he was just one of those guys. He was like, yeah, you know where I'm at. Just call me.
But it's not also. I mean, we make it sound like he was walking San Vicente and everybody thought he was like he was living in some crappy one-bedroom apartment.
No.
Guy was totally rich.
Yeah.
You know,
Yes.
It's not like he needed to work or anything. It's just the phone wasn't ringing.
The studio didn't want to pay Ameche what Milland had been offered. Ameche took that as a slight, and because he was financially independent and in no need of work, he refused to take the part until he received equal pay.
Good for him.
Which is, him and Bellamy are so good in this movie.
Oh my God. You totally
So
buy
good
them,
in this
even though
movie.
they look nothing alike. You 100% buy them as brothers.
Yeah, oh yeah. They're so unlikable. It's so great. Landis claimed
likable. I'm sorry.
I know. But yeah, in a charming way. Unlikable in a very charming way.
In a cartoony, it's like it's definitely it's this movie reminds me of the Bugs Bunny opera shorts.
Oh yeah.
Or
Totally.
where it's like you get some culture in your goof.
Landis claimed that the studio reduced the film's budget, frustrated Ameche's casting after a long absence from film work. Again, the studio just trying to make this movie fail.
This is John Landis, who is a proven director.
Yes.
This is Dan Aykroyd. Yeah, he had a few missteps, but still a proven performer. Eddie Murphy on his way up. Don Ameche, a classic actor from in the studio. It's just like, no, this all sounds really stupid. It shows you how difficult it is. How does anybody get anything made if these guys are still getting having to fight the studio at every single step?
Yeah, it's very true. John Gielgud and Ronnie Barker were considered for the role of Winthorpe's butler, Coleman. Gielgud had played the butler in Arthur with Dudley Moore, winning an Oscar for the performance.
Yes.
And
Should I wash your dick, sir?
I'm gonna say that's probably the reason he turned it down.
Yeah.
He already did that. He already did that part. There was no reason.
He not only did it, he crushed it.
Oh yeah.
And there's no way he could do a better butler. And everybody would have been like, oh, it would have been too. It would have been not confusing, but it would have been. It would have been bad.
It would have been. You would have been like trying. You would have been comparing too much.
Be like, did he stop working for Arthur and now he's working for It's just,
Ronnie Barker refused to act if it involved filming more than 7 miles from his home in the United Kingdom.
Okay, who is Ronnie Barker?
I don't even know.
That's why.
That's why. I don't even know. I just thought it was funny that he's like, I have the power to not shoot something more than 7 miles away from my house.
Well, we're shooting in New York, Ronnie. I think that's a little more than 7 miles. So okay.
Yeah, I'm gonna pass.
Bummer, because
the part went to Denham Elliott, best known for his part as Marcus Brody in the Indiana Jones series.
Indy.
Oh my God! The absolute favorite moment in any Indiana Jones movie is when Indy's talking to the Nazis about Marcus Brody and how you'll never find him.
He knows everybody.
Smash cut to him going, "Help me! Someone please help me!"
He's already disappeared. You'll never find him.
Oh my God! It's so played so perfectly.
Yes.
Does anyone
I'm
speak
Marcus
English?
Brody here. Can anybody tell me where I am?
G. Gordon Liddy, a central figure in the Watergate political scandal of the early 1970s, was offered the role of corrupt official Clarence Beeks. Liddy was interested in the offer until he learned that Beeks becomes the romantic partner of a gorilla.
Yeah, because at the time, almost everybody wished that G. Gordon Liddy was assaulted by a gorilla.
I know.
Traitorous ass.
It would be too satisfying.
That guy, man, talk about... That guy went on to... The 80s were so weird, man. He was on, like, Miami Vice. He was on all these shows, and it was like, oh, G. Gordon Liddy. And he was almost like a hero, to people.
Barf.
It's like the whole, like, what's that moron that's on the Masked Singer, Rudy Giuliani.
Oh, Giuliani. Yeah.
It's just like, ugh.
Yeah.
We don't need you jerks, you traitorous ass. We don't need you mucking up our entertainment. And anyway, the actor that they got is...
It doesn't matter, yes, because at the end of the day, Paul Gleason took the part, who is incredible. His character does read a copy of Liddy's autobiography while riding the train.
Paul Gleason was in Breakfast Club.
He was the principal in the Breakfast Club.
And he was the police commander.
Commander,
yeah. In Die Hard. The one that was like, no, man. No, he let him die, man. He just let him die. But
shooting at the lights.
Yeah. You get the bull by the horns. That guy played an a-hole so well, but also he's one of those guys too.
Yeah.
Remember how I told you like there's bad guys that I like?
Yeah.
I wish they were good guys.
Yeah.
He's definitely one of those actors because he's just so good. He's just
he's so
delicious.
good at being an ass that I really want to sit down and just have a drink with him and be like, how do you pull this off? Don McLeod portrayed the gorilla. He was a mime that had already become popular for his performance as a gorilla in the American Tourister commercials.
Okay, this breaks my heart because up until you told me this, I thought it was a real gorilla. I remember
in the
those
commercials
Yeah,
or in the movie?
No, not in the movie. I'm not an idiot. I'm just an idiot. In the commercials, they would throw a suitcase into like a gorilla's pen.
Yeah,
and then the gorilla would just beat the crap out of it.
Yeah.
And I 100% thought it was a real gorilla.
Yeah. It wasn't.
Thank you, Adam. Thank you.
There's
another thing, and when you get to it, there's another thing that I completely misread for the entire time until you brought it up.
Okay, all right. I just want to point out that if you go back and rewatch the American Tourister commercials, it's really obvious.
Yeah, I was a baby boy, okay? I didn't have, it wasn't as bad as like...
Look, good for Don McLeod for turning that into film roles. Like, the man was in multiple movies playing a gorilla.
He was a good goddamn gorilla. That's what I'm going to say.
He was a fantastic mime.
He fooled me until
I was
great. In my 50s.
Power to Don McLeod. The film also had numerous cameos. Jim Belushi played Harvey, a partygoer on New Year's Eve, who eventually was dressed up like a gorilla. A very fake gorilla.
Because there was a New Year's Eve costume training party?
Doesn't make any sense. That's what happens when you go from Philadelphia to New York. Don't you know, Jim?
I loved it.
Singer Bo Diddley is a pawnbroker when Winthorpe's trying to get money. Curtis's sister, Kelly Curtis, as Penelope's friend Muffy.
Muffy. Constance Fry.
The Muppets puppeteers Frank Oz and Richard Hunt as respectively a police officer and Wilson, the Duke's broker on the trading floor.
Now, Frank Oz, I believe, reprised his role from the Blues Brothers where he was, the same type of role. Where he was given the...
I don't know if it was the same
he gave all the personal effects back to the prisoner.
He came on screen when we were rewatching it, and I haven't seen this movie in a long time, but we were watching it, and you were like, oh, it's Frank Oz. And I was like, no, it's not. That's not what Frank Oz looks like. And then he started talking, and I was like, oh my God, it is Frank Oz.
Well, I mean, he worked for Joliet in Blues Brothers, and I guess he got... work someplace in county in New York.
Philadelphia?
Yeah. I want a movie about that guy, about the prison guard.
Aykroyd's former Saturday Night Live colleagues, Tom Davis and Al Franken, as the train baggage handlers.
They're really funny,
very high train baggage handlers.
Yeah.
That went on for so long. And it was funny.
Oh, yeah.
But it just went on for so long.
And they're eating Wait, was it two gorillas? Oh, look, they're in love.
We better put this gorilla in.
Let's let him be.
Giancarlo Esposito as a cellmate. It was one of his first parts.
Yeah, he was on Breaking Bad as Gus Fring.
He's such a good actor.
And he's in the newest Far Cry.
Far Cry 6.
As the bad guy. But good Lord, he looks like a baby boy. He looks like he's
young.
16 years old, man. He's just standing next to Eddie Murphy. He's the only guy in the movie who looks younger than Eddie Murphy.
Yeah. I don't even know. I don't remember if he even had any lines, but
No, he's just watching Eddie Murphy talk about his kung fu.
Yeah, that's So principal photography began on December 13th, 1982, just a mere 8 days after 48 Hours opened.
Nice.
Which would have some impact on the filming. Filming took place on location in Philadelphia and New York City. The budget was estimated to be about $15 million. The script underwent minor changes throughout filming. Some improv was also encouraged.
Just on the $15 million.
Yeah.
To be able to shoot on the trading floor and all that stuff for $15 million.
Well, it wasn't the actual.
It was in the building
floor, but yeah.
I mean, it was in the World Trade Center.
Yeah.
I guess what I'm trying to say is the budget is on screen.
It seems like a much bigger budget than what. Yes.
Yeah, because it's very expansive and it's very ornate and it takes advantage of a lot of the really ritzy, beautiful locales in New York, and also a lot of the not so ritzy locales
Philadelphia.
Hell's Kitchen.
Most of it's in Philadelphia.
Yeah?
Yes. The only part that's in New York was the end with, and I think there was a scene with them, but most of it was in Philadelphia.
Well, it's close to New York.
That is true. It is one party train right away.
Yep.
Changes to the script were normally discussed in advance, but on other occasions, ad-lib dialogue was considered funny enough to keep. Examples of ad-libs retained in the film include Valentine comparing Randolph to Randy Jackson of the Jackson 5, and demonstrating his court of blood technique in jail.
Wow!
Yeah. Murphy liked Trading Places' script. He felt it was unlike 48 Hours, which he said had been saved by director Walter Hill. He changed many of his own lines because he said that a white writer writing for a black person would use stereotypical dialogue like jive turkey and sucker, and he would rewrite his lines to sound more authentic.
Yeah.
I mean, that's 100% true, yes. Weingrod, Herschel Weingrod, one of the writers, said that the studio objected to Murphy's line,
"Who put their cools out of my Persian rug?"
They believed it was racist because the Kool cigarette brand was targeted mainly at African Americans. Murphy fought to keep it in.
Okay, this is the second thing I was telling you about that totally blew my mind because I thought that he had said, "Who put their coals, like their butts, out on my..." I thought it was coals, which was a slang for butts, rather than cools, which was the menthol racist cigarettes. Just shows you how unracist I am. That I thought they were cold.
This is just another point of the fact that
seriously, it was weird.
No matter what, the studio was thinking the exact opposite of the creative team every single time.
Yeah. Well, that's just a good test of an executive is if he always gets it wrong, hire him.
Ophelia pretending to be a European exchange student to fool Beeks was also improvised. Jamie Lee Curtis used a mix of German attire with a Swedish accent because she could not perform a German accent.
No. And everybody kind of do the Swedish.
Yeah. The first 15 days of filming were spent in Philadelphia. Landis described the weather as freezing. While filming the scene where Randolph and Mortimer collect Valentine from jail, Landis was positioned in a tow truck that pulled the Rolls-Royce carrying Ameche, Bellamy, and Murphy. Landis wore a thick parka to stay warm, and the actors had a space heater in their vehicle.
Dangerous.
And Landis listened to their dialogue via radio. Describing the filming the scene, Landis recalled a jovial discussion between Don Ameche, Ralph Bellamy, and Eddie Murphy, with Bellamy said that Trading Places was his 99th film. Ameche said it was his 100th, and then Murphy informed Landis that...
Between the three of us, we've made 201 films.
Always a jokester.
He is a comedian, Adam.
Yes. During filming in Philadelphia, Murphy was so popular that a police officer had to be stationed outside of his trailer to control the crowds.
I think that was more of Saturday Night Live than everybody clamoring for 48 hours.
But at that time, 48 Hours had just come out.
Sure.
Like, it was. I mean, it definitely.
But he was still on Saturday Night Live at the time.
Yeah, that is correct.
Yeah.
Yes.
He was very popular.
Filming moved to New York City in January 1983. Many of the interior scenes were filmed there. The scene where Valentine and Winthorpe enact their plan against the Dukes was filmed at the Comex Commodity Exchange located inside 4 World Trade Center. The lack of windows gave the appearance the floor was situated below ground, but it was actually on a high floor because they don't want the traders to see daylight, I guess.
No. Well, there's no distractions, man.
True. The scene was shot over approximately 3 to 4 hours a day over 2 days. It was scheduled to take place during a weekday, but Aykroyd's and Murphy's presence on the floor distracted the active traders, and over $6 billion of trading had to be halted.
That added to the budget.
I'm just kidding. It's a very high budget, yes. Filming was scheduled for the weekend. A majority of the people on screen are actual traders, along with some extras. Landis said the traders in the film were less physically rough with each other when they were than they were during normal trading.
Yeah, dude, it's mad. I've never seen anything more
Yeah.
insane than watching actual trading and being on the floor.
Yes,
It's like being walking around a gladiator pit.
Yeah. It's ridiculous.
Wow, they're gladiating.
Don Ameche was opposed to using foul language and often apologized in advance to his crewmates for what he was scripted to say.
What a nice dude.
This is another reason that I was like, I can't believe that he was just totally like, I'm just not working because nobody's calling me. He only performed one take of his final scene where he shouts F him towards Randolph. He literally did one take and then walked off.
That's all he needed. He's a pro.
He is. The final scene shot was the main character celebrating on a beach. This was filmed in St. Croix, an island in the United States Virgin Islands, which I was at just about a month and a half ago.
Humble brag.
Yeah, it was fun. St. Croix is beautiful. Principal photography concluded on March 1st, 1983, after 78 days. Elmer Bernstein composed the score. He and Landis had collaborated previously on several films, including The Blues Brothers and the horror comedy An American Werewolf in London.
Great movie.
fantastic movie. Landis conceived of the idea to use the opera buffa The Marriage of Figaro by Wolfgang Amadeus Mozart as the underlying theme for the score.
That's what really added to the feel of the old-timey comedies because it gave it such an upper crusty... Because, I mean, back then, too, classical music was always associated with the upper crust. Anytime, when we would do our little, masterpiece theater take off, so we would always use classical music to start it out because that's how you get to be stuffy.
By the end of its theatrical run, Trading Places earned an approximate box office gross of $90.4 million.
Nice.
It finished as the fourth highest grossing film of 1983, behind Paramount Studios' surprise hit, the romantic drama Flashdance, which made $90.46 million.
Yeah, Jennifer Beals in The Book of Boba Fett.
Yes. The comedy drama Terms of Endearment, which made $108.4 million.
Man, that was a sad movie.
That was a sad movie. They call it a comedy drama.
Well, it is. I mean, it was pretty funny up until she died. And then it wasn't that funny. And then it was funny again.
And then, of course, the number one movie of the year, Return of the Jedi, with a staggering $309.2 million.
Yeah, like 100 of that was from me.
This is why Jim is broke now. The film revitalized Aykroyd's career after the flops of Neighbors and Dr. Detroit. He went on to be able to do Ghostbusters and various things. At the 41st Golden Globe Awards in 1984, the film received 2 nominations, Best Musical or Comedy, losing to romantic drama Yentl.
Oh, Yentl. I should have known. That's from The Simpsons.
And Best Actor in a Musical or Comedy for Murphy, who lost to Michael Caine's performance in the comedy drama Educating Rita.
I'm educating Rita.
At the 56th Academy Awards, Bernstein was nominated for Best Original Score. He lost to Michel Legrand and Alan and Marilyn Bergman, who scored Yentl.
Oh, Yentl.
Yeah, always. 37th British Academy Film Awards named Elliot and Curtis the Best Supporting Actor and Best Supporting Actress, respectively.
Yeah. What's really weird? As of the taping of this, the Oscar nominations came out today, and I could not care any less. And I don't think I've watched the Oscars in the last few years.
No.
But I remember, man, the Oscars were a big, big deal.
Yeah.
They used to be so much fun. You get like Billy Crystal hosting, or you get something, and it'd just be this big old thing. And now it's just who cares? And you know what? The ones that got the biggest nods this year.
I made a list this morning off of the movies I hadn't seen. I've only seen one of the 10 nominees.
Which one?
Don't Look Up.
Yeah.
The others I've not seen. Half of them are not available right now, so I'm not going to see them.
Well, the one that got the most, the Year of the Dog, or the, what is it?
Power of the Dog?
The Way of the Dog, the Power of the Dog.
Something like that? Yeah.
Man, that was just not good. It was pretty. It was shot well, but it was boring and predictable, and I would 100%, without any sort of hesitation, give the Golden Raspberry Award to Mr. Benedict Cumberbatch for that movie.
Wow. All right. Yeah. Harris and Weingrod were nominated for a BAFTA for Best Original Screenplay, but they lost to Paul D. Zimmerman for the 1982 black comedy, The King of Comedy.
Oh man. Oh, such a good movie.
Yeah.
One of the most underrated Scorsese movies.
Yeah.
And De Niro movies, man. If you want to see De Niro, oh man. Hoobity doobity. Watch that flim. That flim?
That flim. Watch that flim. It's a flim-flam. Along with the impact their respective roles had on its stars' careers, Trading Places is considered one of the best comedy films ever made and part of the canon of American comedies.
Oh, yeah. I mean, we were talking about it while we were watching it. It is like 3 different movies, man.
Yeah.
But it works. Like, it starts out as, a switcheroo double do, and then it turns into a revenge movie, and then it's just like the stuff on the train. It just moves in ways that keep it alive. It's such a living comedy. It's always moving and grooving and jibbity jabbity.
Bellamy and Ameche reprised their Duke characters for Murphy's 1988 film Coming to America. Murphy portrayed Prince Hakeem, who hands the now homeless brothers a large sum of cash. Mortimer tells Randolph that it is enough to give them a new start.
This is enough, Randolph. We can do it again.
Which, the thing is that, and I still haven't seen Coming to America, the number 2, the sequel to Coming to America, which is impossible to talk about on a podcast.
Well, I'll tell you this. Don Ameche and Ralph Bellamy are not in that one.
They are not in it, but there's a reference to the Dukes revealing they used the Akeem's donation to rebuild their business.
Yes, they did.
Yeah.
But
they are not in it because they are both dead.
Yeah, rest in peace.
Yes. Both of them. I did not make it past the
Rest
early
in
90s.
pieces, right? Yeah. Rest in pieces? Is that how you do
Yeah.
it?
Well, I mean...
Rests in pieces.
Of the two films, between Coming to America and Trading Places, Murphy said that while he loves Trading Places, he prefers Coming to America because it allowed him to portray multiple characters.
Sure.
Which he then did in like 50 movies throughout his career.
Yeah. Yeah, look.
Sometimes to better results.
I will say this. All of Eddie Murphy's characters are great.
Yeah.
Because the clumps, all of them, it's silly stuff, but... you look at that dinner scene in the clumps, that's absolute freaking genius, man.
Oh,
he is so different as each character. Any actor could put on some makeup and boom, I'm a different guy. But he embodied, the grandmother is so much different than the uncle, and the uncle's so much different than the father. And the father, it's just, and in Coming to America, he got away with playing an old Jewish man. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And even the woman in Norbit, not his best work.
No.
But still
agreed.
funny. And look at at Bowfinger, man.
Yeah.
Poof.
Oh, yeah.
Two completely different characters. Characters. And it's just, I get it because he's great at playing different characters and I would love it. But I think this is kind of his last straight comedy, if that makes sense. Where he's just in the movie rather than he is the movie.
Just being the...
This is he and Aykroyd's movie. 48 Hours is he and Nolte's movie.
Yeah.
But then it just became Murphy movies.
Murphy,
how many characters can Murphy play? How many, and I think that kind of led to his downfall because it was just like, and it's not his fault. It's just like, well... we have a script. Let's attach Eddie Murphy. Bippity-boopity, and it's...
give you $40 million and make this movie.
And Eddie Murphy's got a lot of kids and alimony and Bubble Hill and a lot of things to pay for and take care of. So, he did what he had to do. And then he just disappeared.
In 2010, nearly 30 years after its release, the film was cited in the testimony of Commodity Futures Trading Commission Chief Gary Gensler regarding new regulations on the financial markets. He said,
"We have recommended banning using misappropriated government information to trade in the commodity markets. In the movie Trading Places, starring Eddie Murphy, the Duke brothers intended to profit from trades in frozen concentrated orange juice futures contracts using an illicitly obtained and not yet public Department of Agriculture orange crop report. Characters played by Eddie Murphy and Dan Aykroyd intercept the misappropriated report and trade on it to profit and ruin the Duke brothers."
The testimony was part of the Dodd-Frank Wall Street Reform and Consumer Protection Act designed to prevent insider trading on commodities markets, which had previously not been illegal.
Insane.
And
now it's been gutted anyway.
It doesn't matter now.
I mean, it was a nice time while it lasted.
Section 746 of the Reform Act is referred to as the Eddie Murphy Rule.
And every time somebody cites the Eddie Murphy Rule, they have to go...
But his quote, the Gensler's quote there really did sum up what essentially happened at the end of the movie.
Yeah.
And it really comes down to the Duke brothers were trying to cheat, and then Aykroyd and Murphy figured it out and
out-cheated them.
But
they still cheated.
and they made the Duke brothers lose a bunch of money.
Yeah, and they ended up getting enough money to move to an island.
They did.
Yes. Looking good, Mortimer.
Well, that's it. Reggie. That's all I got for Trading Places. Absolutely phenomenal movie. It's too bad it's just not available on any streaming services right now.
This is weird. I think that they're trying to ruin us, Adam, because everything that we want to watch now isn't.
And it's
isn't
like, come
streaming.
on, this is a movie that it should be on everything. I mean,
it does. It's weird. These older movies and television shows are floaters, and they'll float around and they'll pop up on something. Just every time it's like, what's coming on Netflix in May? You can look up, go to the tease. See if Trading Places is there. Go to the numbers in the beginning and see if 48 Hours is
It'll
there.
most likely be on Paramount Plus,
Sure.
which it literally was
Yeah.
until January 31st.
Yes. So crazy.
And when we wanted to watch the movie the next day, it was gone.
But it is a perfect comedy.
I agree.
There's nothing I would change.
There is some troubling, problematic things in it, but for the time and given, it is a perfect movie.
And the problematic things aren't the character that Dan Aykroyd plays isn't, some sort of minstrel show awful thing. I'm not. Good Lord, am I not ever condoning using blackface?
No, God, no.
But, back then, that's how they did disguises sometimes.
Yeah.
And, I don't think that they were hate-based. I think it was just, they weren't trying to be... It doesn't have,
it didn't have as much. They didn't have as much foresight into it as they probably should.
Right,
have.
and there was no venom behind it. It was just funny to see him, and it was probably an accent he could do, man. A really bad Jamaican accent.
Oh yeah, there was a movie Aykroyd did later where he did a really bad Jamaican accent.
Yeah,
and it was,
probably.
He was a cop or something and had dreads but he wasn't in blackface.
It might have been that movie he did with Gene Hackman, where he was playing all the different characters. He was like the cop with the mental disorder.
The mental disorder, yeah. Loose Cannon?
Yep,
Loose Cannon, maybe? Yeah.
Yeah.
Something like that, yeah. Yeah. But I almost feel like it was kind of Aykroyd being like, no, really, I can just do a Jamaican accent. I'm not a racist asshole. I swear
Give
to
it
God.
up, Danny. Give it up. You do all other great accents. Just do those. But what a great movie. And it's so, and we mentioned this last time, and we'll talk about more on the Stepdad Show, but it's really cool to see Eddie Murphy coming back.
Yeah.
And, he's got a new Netflix movie coming out this year with Jonah Hill.
Yeah.
Hopefully it'll be funny.
The trailer looks funny. I mean, the bits I've seen, they look funny.
Yeah. He's back. People want to see him. He wants to be seen.
Yeah. He seems like he finally wants to work again and get back into
60
it.
too, right? He's like 60. God, he's
61
good.
this year. Yeah.
He doesn't look any different, man.
No.
He could be in his early 40s or what. That guy.
Yeah.
Man, I just he'll hit it though. They'll be like 5, 6, 7 years from now. It'll be like, you started to look like an old lady. Because all the really handsome guys that last for a long time, they start looking like an old lady. The only one that I've seen that has avoided that curse is Harrison Ford.
Yeah.
But
he's still very manly looking.
We'll see.
Yeah.
Poor Clint Eastwood, man. He doesn't look. Clint Eastwood is just like he's a bag of bones. I watched Cry Macho, which I enjoyed, just because I love him. But it's like it was one of those movies, and I explained this before, that makes me nervous because he's so old and fragile. Like when he throws a punch,
it's like,
his whole arm's going to shatter into a million pieces. It's just scary. It's sad seeing those old guys get
old.
Yeah, it is. Getting old sucks at him.
All right, on that note, we're going to go. And we'll be back next week with the Stepdad Show and talk more about Eddie Murphy and some of his stand-up. And
I just want to make a correction before then. I said I don't even know what I referenced when I said I saw Eddie Murphy in concert. I think the Raw or something. But what it was the Pieces of My Mind tour. And I'll talk about that. That was the one with the Weather Girls that opened for him.
Totally. All right, well, thanks for listening.
You can
Curtis jokingly remarked,
I'd love to see him. Oh wait, that's Colonel Woman. Hey guys, that's not.
Hey. Curtis had long hair when she was cast. Costume designer Deborah Noodleman Landis.
Noodleman?
Sorry, it's actually Deborah Noodleman. Okay, anyway, I'm going to do this again.
Welcome to the Gen X Files. I'm Jim.
I'm Adam.
And today's show is all about
trading places.
Let's do that again because I was about to say 48 hours.
Nope, we did that already. All right.
We now return you to your regularly scheduled programming. What's happening? Already in progress.